Good afternoon, America, and welcome back to the News from the Real World podcast. I'm Quinn, and behind every great man, there's a truly great lady. And this week we're joined by that great lady that sets us up every week
for the last 2 years.
For the last 2 years. It is my extreme pleasure to introduce Jess Bertolo.
Hello.
Woo! To my right we have, as always,
Jody.
And my arch nemesis. Arch enemy nemesis on the extreme left.
Eleanor. Hello.
Hello. This week we're starting it off with a casting article. Take it away, Jody.
Jess.
Sorry, that was you. You picked it.
I submitted to the Cree page. I submitted to the. She has all the feelings.
Right.
Jess, take it away. I don't want to steal your thunder.
So I'm here because I have all the feelings about this week's articles, but not really. But it's fine. So this article is called "Casting Aladdin: Where Are All the Middle Eastern Actors?" It's an editor pick from artsandcolor.com, and it was submitted by an anonymous person who quoted himself an actor of minority. The article basically said that this gentleman is really angry that Disney didn't cast any Middle Eastern or people of Middle Eastern descent
in a cast of 34
in Disney's new production of Aladdin. He pointed out that the audition notices said that each character could be any ethnicity. There were open casting calls, colorblind casting, and he said, why isn't it Disney's priority to find even a handful of Middle Eastern actors to represent the culture of the show? Which I found really interesting because it's Disney. Disney's priority is not to cast anybody of the descent of the people in the original movie. It's Disney. They're out to make money. So what do you guys think about this?
I have mixed feelings about it because in my heart I want to be like, yes, colorblind casting, but I think that's my instinct because I guess I associate colorblind casting with giving a hand to the underdog, right? And so
and
I thought,
in this case, it's not.
And in this case, it's not
it's
exactly
taking it away from
right. But
the ethnic minority.
Right, but he made a really great point in this article. He said, this would have been a great opportunity for somebody of Middle Eastern descent to play a hero and to play an ingenue and to play, a sidekick and a comedic role. There's all these opportunities and nobody got it. And that is disappointing.
Yeah.
One of our commenters, Amar R, said that this play is not affected greatly by the race of the actor if they can portray the character correctly. Additionally, there could have been Middle Eastern actors who auditioned but ultimately did not make it. So, it doesn't mean that no one auditioned,
right.
But maybe all of the Middle Eastern actors who auditioned weren't good enough for the role. That's a possibility.
What is colorblind casting? Because what colorblind casting means to me is that any actor of any ethnicity can play, like Hamlet, for example.
Sure.
Right? But then when you flip it and there's a play or a production where the role specifically calls for somebody of an ethnic minority, those roles should be taken by ethnic minorities.
I completely
not by,
agree.
White people,
Yeah, exactly.
Is Disney's Aladdin, does it really call for Middle Eastern actors? The story, yes, it takes place in the Middle East and it takes place in that culture, but the story doesn't really reference that culture a whole lot.
He makes
it does reference that culture, though, completely.
Arabian Nights?
Yeah, that's like the first number of the show. And he
Yeah.
makes a point, sure, the city that's at the heart of the story is fictional, but it's unmistakably set in the Middle East.
Right.
But it's also Disney, so when the film came out, they're whitewashing it and they're just co-opting all these cultural norms of that region and just kind of putting them in a sort of fairy tale Disney-ified American context.
Yeah,
right?
the little picture they had of the original cartoon, you could see the people looked white. They just had black hair.
I thought Trent
funny.
Taylor's comment was really interesting. He said, I understand the frustration of the actors voicing the concern here, but I also understand where Disney is coming from. They spend large amounts of money, they want the best production team. For the cast, that might mean that not everyone is the right ethnicity, but that's the magic of hair and makeup. Which I find extraordinary, because he's basically saying, black them up, and it's that is blackface,
Right.
It's blackface in a Middle Eastern context,
But
which to me is, not acceptable.
What another commenter says, Carolyn Mazuka, says that actors of different descent can naturally play and look like the part of a Middle Eastern character, so I can see why casting a pure Caucasian cast may be astounding, but I feel like as long as the actor and directors can stay true to the style of the cast, then it's okay not to cast Middle Eastern. I mean, in essence, Disney is entertainment. Disney is out to make money.
It makes me think we've come nowhere. If you watch like a film from the 50s and you'll see like it's a Western or something, and the Native Americans are played by white dudes with brown makeup.
Absolutely.
It's
Which
ridiculous.
is like Johnny Depp in The Lone Ranger playing a Native American, where like people were outraged about that, but not as outraged as they were about the German production of Clybourne Park, where the black actors were wearing black makeup to be black. Which is like, it just shows you that like, we have a sort of a sliding scale for this kind of colorblind casting. Like, we wouldn't accept it for like African Americans to not be played by African Americans, but we might accept it for Asian Americans, or we might accept it for like Middle Easterners, which is just outrageous to me. Like, I think it should just be one rule across the board.
And you don't have to be Middle Eastern to look Middle Eastern. I think
That's
if
true.
you guys never met Jacob Tischler, but I think of Jacob Tischler because like when someone was introducing me, or we were talking about him last year, I said, "Oh, you mean the kid that looks like Aladdin?" Like, and people were like, "Yes, that's the kid." And I think first of all, he would be a perfect Aladdin.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug, but I'm half Syrian. I'm Middle Eastern. I don't look Middle Eastern.
So would you have made a good Jasmine just because you are of Middle Eastern descent?
No! She's probably going to sing way above registers that I can't even dream of.
And for the record, the two lead characters, I looked them up online. They could pass. It's not like they cast pure Caucasians, like I'm from Germany and I look Polish or I look whatever. They could pass for Middle Eastern on stage.
Well, there you have it, Disney. Our very own Jodie Cohen is available for the role. Should
Grad
you
school's more important.
choose to cast her. Moving right along, video games and nudity.
All
A
right,
little
so
sexy article for the week. Actually, it's not sexy at all, folks.
yeah, that was terrible.
Take it away.
Okay, so this article is when a gaming actress's nude images leak, who should take the legal blame? And it's an editor pick from artstechnica.com by Kyle Orland. And so basically what's happened is that Ellen Page who's a
Juno.
Hollywood actress, Juno, who is appearing in the game Beyond Two Souls, which is like a monumental event in and of itself, like Hollywood actors starting to do video games, very cool. So nude images of her from this game have been leaked online. And Sony, who's the game developer, have been kind of like muttering about taking legal action and sort of asking certain
You
people to
should
take
clarify,
it.
though, they're not like actual pictures of Ellen Page nude, it's like the video game.
Wow, this is the interesting point, right? Like, so yes, they are digitized images. It's not her actual body, it's like a video game version of her body, but, it's a video game version of her face, but, she is playing the role. And basically those images came to the internet because there was like an illegally hacked console where like certain people could, like press and game developers could get access to certain parts of the game that like normal people couldn't get access to, and then they leaked the images online. So the article is really questioning like whether Sony has like a legal argument in trying to get these images taken down.
Ellen Page apparently, it's suggested that she's none too happy about this and is threatening
Can you blame
legal
her?
act. No.
Yeah.
Look at it.
I wouldn't be pleased either. I'm kind of skeeved out by the whole thing.
I
But
mean, I question why Sony even made these images accessible in the game. I mean, is it important to the story that we see a full body frontal shot of Ellen Page in the shower if it's not accessible in the actual game?
I was kind of wondering what plot point
Right.
dictates that she has to take a shower mid-game.
Well, I
didn't
think it's
quite
like
get it.
the camera angle in the actual game is like a tasteful, normal camera angle, and like because this console where the images came from allows you to like make changes to the game and like mess around with
Right.
it. This is like a different camera angle, which they
And, like,
don't
why did they
use.
need that anyway?
Yeah,
to
I
take
feel like
that
it
angle?
very easily they
Yeah.
could have put in some coding where that camera
Yeah.
angle like physically did not exist.
yeah, that's exactly what people are saying.
Somebody
And,
screwed up.
yeah, and there's a student comment here from Christina. Who said, I think that Sony should absolutely have been extremely more cautious with the sensitive material and are completely liable to Ellen Page. I think about how in theatre, when we are doing any kind of sensitive material, we limit the amount of people who can be in the room, take the necessary measures to make sure that the people involved are comfortable and protected. I would imagine that the same should be said about sensitive content being handled electronically.
Good comment.
Yeah, really good.
Any further thoughts?
they brought up, the article was kind of above my head, but they brought up this really interesting point about how California takes an interesting stance on publicity,
Right.
and I don't for poor Ellen Page want to see it go that far. But if it went that far, I want to know how the state of California would kind of sit on it.
Brings up an interesting question, though. It's not actually her, for one thing, and it's it's like a computerized version of her, and it's in some ways it's no different than like superimposing an actress's head on a naked body and throwing it over the internet, which happens all the time.
Right.
So
I almost feel like it's a little bit worse though, because this image was she was contracted in order to become this character in the video game, and
Right.
so it isn't just her head put on some body; it is actually her body.
Just like when a Hollywood actress says, I'll do nudity, but it won't be my body, like I have a stunt double to
Yeah, the
play
body
my butt
double.
or whatever, like they've still agreed to that, even
Right.
if it's not their body, they've
Right.
agreed that that's going to be shown. And
But
she just
but
hasn't agreed to it.
they don't really know, but it's suggested in the article that she must have had some clause saying, a nudity clause, and now Sony's kind of scrambling to
Yeah.
try and retrieve all this that's out on the web, but
I mean,
that's impossible because
yeah,
the
'cause
internet trolls have just
Exactly, and that's what the article talks about, like the Streisand effect, which is like if you try and get something that's on the internet like taken down,
Then-
the publicity that generates just like
It's
leads more
worse.
people
I
to it.
know,
Right,
it's
so
terrible.
I kind of fault them for damage control on this. Like, I don't know. First of all, I don't know what damage control should have looked like. I'm not a publicity. I'm not a PR, expert or practitioner. But I feel like maybe the legal action was their instinct for damage control, and that's the wrong instinct.
But they're not taking legal action per se, they're sort of whispering about it, and they've contacted some blogs and asked them to take it down, but of course, it's the internet, so the blogs are like,
It's
hey, we've
impossible.
been contacted, they're asking us to take it down. More publicity, more publicity.
Yeah.
Well, and they actually don't also.
Possible.
From what I read, they don't really know what legal legs they have to stand
Yeah.
on because
Yeah.
they've been saying like, oh, it's legal, oh, it's illegal, oh, like they were going back and forth.
Well, there you have it. As the resident tool, it falls on me once a week to discuss a topic concerning tool issues. So, this week it's about your friendly table saw
Yes.
and kickback.
Table saw.
This is a student pick, of course, from Hackaday.com by Adam Fabio, entitled "Table Saw Kickback: Video Ends Badly." What'd you guys think of this video? It's hilarious.
Horrifying.
It's hilarious.
Horrifying.
I actually have seen this video before, about a year ago in my OSHA class, where we
Yeah.
take our 30-hour OSHA training, and our professor showed this video, and he was like, look at this idiot! Look at this stupid thing he's doing with the table saw! Never do this with any tool! And like, I can't believe
I
someone would
love
even be
this
so...
guy.
I can't believe he would do that!
The video is amazing. Basically, it's this guy Tom who, what's his accent? It must be Chicago.
I love the
thought it was
accent.
Chi- I think it was a Chicago accent. This guy Tom, he looks kind of like Wilford Brimley, and he's just kind of talking and going around his shop, and he tries to demonstrate
How
a
not?
table saw kickback. But of course, demonstrating it is quite dangerous, and the guy's fingers almost get sawed off, and his piece of wood goes flying through his shop, and then they slow down the video, and you show his fingers get millimeters away from the live table saw, going at 100+ revolutions per second. It's amazing.
Terrifying.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, just absolutely terrifying. But also, I'm glad because we've been discussing many articles about table saws, and now I know how a table saw works. Didn't
Yeah.
actually really
Yeah.
know what it was before today, so
Yeah.
I mean,
useful
it's
from that
It
perspective.
helps to prove that using a tool without the safety measures that are set in place. I mean, all of those tables come with blade
Right.
guards that
Yeah.
he didn't have.
He didn't have
installed
a
on
blade
it.
card.
He wasn't using the tool properly, and
Or a
that's
saw
what
stop.
happens.
Yeah.
And so there was some confusion in the comments about whether that like blade guard would have prevented what actually happened to
It-
the kickback.
I mean, it would have prevented it on a piece of wood the size he had, but if it was, say, a longer piece, it could have bent around the blade guard. It
Right.
just, it helps prevent it. I mean, kickback hurts. Have any of you guys ever had a kickback?
Not only where it not a full kickback.
I mean,
No,
I-
where
I was-
it's kind of not feeding in right, and then
I was
you gotta
working
stop.
in a shop, about 4 or 5 years ago at this point, where I was cutting through a piece of wood to cut off a damaged end, and the damaged end kicked back at me, and about a piece of wood this big kicked back and hit me in the gut. I mean,
Oh,
I had
Jesus.
a bruise like this for 2 weeks.
Yeah, they talk
And
about sometimes people get
serious-
internal bleeding
serious
from
internal
that.
damage, punctured
Yeah.
organs. It can be serious stuff.
Yeah, this guy's amazing. Tom, seek out his videos. He's truly a special individual. We have a couple student comments on him, specifically on Tom. This is from Frank Meyer. The disclaimer at the beginning of the video was accurate. That guy was a moron. At least he knew that going in. Thank you, Frank Meyer. Ben Vigman also chimes in. Well, that guy was a moron, but I suppose we can at least thank him for this public service announcement. That's right, Ben.
Well, I found really interesting in the comments, a lot of the students were saying that now they're scared to use a
Yeah.
saw, which I thought, well, I mean, I think that's really interesting because we're, in this university, we're trained to use tools properly, we're trained to not do stupid stuff like this guy did, and people are still scared of the tool, which I think is actually a lot more dangerous when you're using a tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still scared to use the saw. Like, they say you should have a healthy fear and like a healthy respect.
Yeah, treat your tools with respect.
Yeah, speaking as a tool, I completely agree. And that wraps up this segment of News from the Real World podcast. I'm Quinn.
I'm Jody.
Jess.
Eleanor.
Join us next for segment 2.
Do we give Jess a special shout out for like always organizing podcasts? This is her first week joining us
Sure.
on camera.
In 2 years.
Yes,
First week
yeah,
in
that's
2
really
years.
true.